Really quickly guys, check out our month-long Black Friday sale over at Fantasy Sabers, where we're giving away a free Chosen One Deluxe with every saber purchase. These are the best sabers on the market, so don't miss out.
What if Anakin joined the Jedi Council during the Clone War? Let's start the story in the second year of the Clone War. Anakin was the hero with no fear, one of the most pivotal Jedi in the Order. He's won the most battles, and was widely regarded as the best general the Jedi had. Anakin and Obi-Wan underwent one specific mission together to rescue Jedi Master Even Piell. He was being held in the Citadel prison, and they had to rescue him. They were so close, they successfully got him out of his cell, but he was killed during their escape. Even Piell was a member of the Jedi Council, and after his death, this left a void on the Council. They debated who they should appoint, as a few names were tossed around. Aayla Secura, Quinlan Vos. However, they settled on one, Anakin Skywalker, their hero with no fear. They called Anakin into the chamber, and he stood in the center as they announced he would be granted the rank of Master and a seat on the Jedi Council. Skywalker could not believe it. He'd never expected this would happen this early. However, he did believe that he deserved it. He gracefully accepted the honor and sat down on his new seat on the Jedi Council. They tell Anakin he will become the Master of War on the Council, the main master to go to about war and battle tactics, as his experience on the first line will be vital to decisions going forward. They discuss the current state of the war and end the meeting shortly after. Anakin and Obi-Wan walk together back to their quarters as Kenobi congratulates Anakin. He could see the smile on his face and truly believed his apprentice deserved the position. Padme was ecstatic when Anakin told her the news, and she congratulated her husband. She knew this was something that he deeply wanted and was happy the Council were validating his success in the Clone War. Anakin took a step back from the battlefield, as his primary role now was to coordinate the Jedi and Republic forces. He was good at this, and his experience on the battlefield was extremely useful. He met often with Palpatine to discuss this and coordinate the war together. Palpatine was upset that the Council had made Anakin a Master and Council member. He planned to use the Council's distrust in Anakin to assist in persuading him to join the dark side. However, he still believed he could prey on the boy's emotional instability and turn him to his side. Now that Anakin was made a Jedi Master, he was granted access to the Jedi Archive's restricted section, in which he spent a lot of time in. This got rid of the idea in Anakin's mind that the Council might have been hiding secrets of the Force from him. He spent a lot of time here, where he studied advanced Force techniques not available to normal Jedi. He worked through the various restricted holocrons, learning techniques such as Morokorio, a forbidden technique that allows a Jedi to slow a being's bodily functions to the point of near death. Luminous Hand, a manifestation of the light side that converts a Jedi's life force into tangible light, capable of healing or disintegrating matter on contact. Razor Pulse, the ability to send out concentric bursts of razor-edged force currents that slice through armor, droid plating, and lightsaber blades in a short radius. With this, Anakin's power grew, as did his knowledge of the Force. The Council was happy with Anakin's input into the Clone War, and he quickly became a trusted and respected Jedi Master. He was told about the fake assassination of Obi-Wan, which cemented Anakin's trust in the Council. Word came to the Council that Sith Lords Darth Maul and Savage Opress were located on Onderon. The Council discussed this. The Sith were wreaking havoc and had to be stopped. They decided 2 Council members must be sent to deal with them. Kenobi volunteered first, declaring that his experience fighting Maul in the past will be beneficial to capturing him again. Adi Gallia is about to nominate herself to go, but before she does, Anakin stands and declares that he must be the second Master to go. He and Obi-Wan's coordination in battle will be essential to overcoming the Dathomiri brothers, who will also be skilled in 2v2 combat. Anakin's word was trusted, and he alongside Obi-Wan were sent. They tracked the Sith brothers to Florum, as they attempted to force Hondo and his gang of pirates into servitude, but Hondo refused, sparking a battle between the brothers and the pirates. Amid the fighting, Anakin and Obi-Wan arrived to confront the Sith brothers. Anakin took on Savage, and it was a quick fight. The inexperienced Sith was no match for the Chosen One. Anakin sent a razor pulse, which cut through Savage's lightsaber and extinguished it. In the moment of the Sith's confusion, Anakin jumped up, span, and kicked the Sith on the jaw, knocking him unconscious. Anakin joined Obi-Wan, and together they fought Maul, who who was now put on the defensive. Anakin cast a luminous hand, which Maul was forced to block as Obi-Wan pressed forward to cut his blade in half. Defenseless, the Sith tried to run, but both Anakin and Obi-Wan grabbed him with the Force and placed him in handcuffs. The Sith brothers were brought back to the Jedi Temple and placed in separate prisons. The Council discussed what to do with the Sith, and Kenobi proclaimed that Maul could be useful to them. They know Darth Sidious is out there, and Dooku is his apprentice, but before the Count, it was Maul, which means he must know who Sidious really is. They initially tried to use the Force to interrogate Maul, subtly using a Jedi mind trick to plant suggestions or elicit persuasion in Maul. They even brought in the Jedi's most experienced with this technique. However, after weeks of no success, they abandoned their efforts as Maul's connection to the dark side was strong enough of a barrier that this Force trick did not work. They decided to change tactic. They wouldn't use the Force anymore, but went for a more subtle interrogation, attempting to subtly manipulate Maul into telling them Sidious's identity. They knew this wouldn't be a quick strategy, that it would take time, but they believed with the right process they could be successful. Meanwhile, Palpatine was starting to get worried. The Jedi have had Maul in custody for weeks and knows his old apprentice could spill his secrets at any given moment and mess up 1,000 years of Sith planning. He attempted to pass a motion in the Senate that gave the Republic jurisdiction over Maul as a prisoner. However, the Jedi argued that Maul was a Sith, the Jedi's enemy, and therefore they maintained jurisdiction over him. However, the Jedi continued, attempting to persuade Maul to talk. They tried to build rapport and expressed a convincing strategy to do this. Windu, Anakin, and Plo Koon were in charge. They begin by telling Maul that he's not surrounded by enemies here, that Sidious is the one who forced him to hate the Jedi, that the Jedi had never wronged him before he became a Sith. They continued a similar line of thinking for weeks, often discussing with Maul how Sidious was the one who betrayed him. He left him for dead on Naboo. Sidious must have known that Maul survived his duel, however, left him for dead regardless. His old master does not care about him and will never accept his failures, and the last thing a Sith Lord would do is let their failures live. He never came for Maul before because he was hidden across the galaxy, not doing anything, but now that he's back, he is a rival to the Sith throne. Maul tried to stay mentally strong, to believe that Sidious did care about him, but his mind began to crack. The Jedi told Maul that even if he were to escape, even if the Jedi let him free, it would not matter, because Sidious would come for him shortly after and not let him live. They continued a similar line of thinking for weeks, and they started to allow Maul to rant about Sidious, his betrayal and his hatred, mirroring Maul's emotions to show understanding without judgment. Through this, the Jedi learned where his pride, grudges, and ultimate goals lie. Meanwhile, one day, Anakin is in Palpatine's office discussing the war, as Palpatine asks Anakin how their interrogation of Maul is going. Anakin trusts the Chancellor, apologizes again for the Jedi wanting full jurisdiction over him, but proclaims that their interrogation of Maul is going better than they could have imagined. They spent weeks establishing a relationship with Maul, and thinks he's close to revealing the identity of Darth Sidious. This made Palpatine nervous. He isn't close enough. He needs more time for his plans. Yes, he could execute Order 66 now, but Anakin would not join him, and he isn't sure the Senate would accept him as Emperor yet. He asks Anakin what would happen after they find Sidious. What if he's a member of the Republic, like Master Kenobi proclaims? Anakin paused, then told Palpatine that they will arrest him and bring him to justice. Palpatine realizes now that his plan has been foiled. He hasn't had long enough to manipulate Anakin and plant the subtle seeds of doubt and fear inside of him. Part of the reason is because the Jedi Council appointed Anakin to be a member and trusted him, which went both ways. Palpatine knew his plan A had failed and had to go to plan B. He still had intimate knowledge of Anakin and knows him better than the Jedi do, because he knows about Padme. The Jedi decide they've made good progress with Maul, that it's time to take a risk, allowing Obi-Wan to join in the interrogation. In the first session, Maul's progress goes backwards a bit. His hatred towards Obi-Wan was masking all other emotions. However, after a couple of sessions, this changed. Obi-Wan continuously apologized to Maul, that he didn't want it to be this way between them. He was sorry for what he did. He never wanted to cut him in half, but he took his master from him. He killed Qui-Gon, and Obi-Wan asked if they could call it even between them. After many sessions between the two, Obi-Wan had persuaded Maul to accept this arrangement. After all, he had killed Qui-Gon. The Jedi kept interrogating Maul, with Obi-Wan joining them now. However, Kenobi had one session alone with Maul that changed things. Obi-Wan took a risk, asking Maul directly about what Sidious actually wants. Is it just galactic control, or is it something else? Maul pauses and tells Kenobi there is something else that Sidious wants. No, it's someone else. Maul looks at Kenobi directly and tells him that he wants his apprentice for himself, Anakin Skywalker. Kenobi was taken aback, asking Maul what he means, who tells Kenobi that Sidious has had his eye on Anakin for a while, the chosen one, and believes he will be a useful ally in his cause. But Obi-Wan tells Maul that Anakin would never join him. Maul states that it might be true. This only came to him in a vision. However, if there's one thing he knows, it's that Sidious is the greatest manipulator the galaxy has ever seen. Obi-Wan left and went straight to Yoda and Windu. They decided to keep this knowledge between them. Maul could be lying or simply wrong. However, they trusted in Anakin and believed he would not betray him. A few weeks later, Palpatine had a meeting with Anakin. Skywalker told Palpatine that Maul revealed that Kenobi was right. Sidious is a high-ranking member of the Republic Senate, and they believed they're close to uncovering his true identity. This was it for Palpatine, who decided to set his plan in motion. That day, through the Separatists, he hired a group of bounty hunters to attack Padme's convoy on her way to Naboo. He knew he couldn't attack Anakin through his lack of trust to the Jedi, and had to get to him through his wife Padme. This was reported back to the Republic, Senator Padme Amidala captured, and whereabouts unknown. Anakin struggled to contain himself when this was reported at the Jedi Council meeting. His wife captured and life in danger, and his fear started to rise. Kenobi looked at Anakin and could tell that this would be an issue. Anakin spoke, stating that Senator Amidala is a highly liked and respected senator, that they must rescue her immediately. Kenobi concurs, and the council agrees, and Anakin is charged to discuss the strategy with the Chancellor. Anakin goes and tells Palpatine about Padme, still trying to maintain composure, as in his mind, Palpatine doesn't know about Padme. However, Skywalker didn't expect what came next. Palpatine told Anakin that if he wishes to see his wife again, he must do what he asks. Anakin looks at Palpatine in confusion, who tells Anakin that he's the one who's ordered the capture of Padme. Anakin paused, asking the Chancellor why he would do that, who tells Anakin it's because he's the Sith Lord they've been looking for, Darth Sidious. Anakin's eyes went wide, and in that moment, it all clicked for him. The years of getting close to him, Maul and Kenobi revealing that Sidious was a high-ranking member of the Senate, but they never imagined how high. His hand flew to his saber, but Palpatine told him that wasn't a very good idea if he wanted to see his wife again. Anakin moves his hand away and asks Palpatine what he wants, who tells the young master that it's very simple. He wants the Jedi gone, and Anakin is going to help him. Anakin is the master of war, and he must help him. For Palpatine to complete his plans, he needs Yoda and Windu off-world, his two greatest threats. He tells Anakin he has 24 hours to do this, or Padme dies. Palpatine sits down, and Anakin is frozen in shock by the situation. Palpatine looks him dead in the eyes and tells him he'd better get a move on, as he rushes out immediately. At the council meeting the following morning, Anakin tried to do what Palpatine had ordered him to. The Confederacy of Independent Systems had just launched an invasion of Cato Nemoidia, and the council were discussing who should go. Anakin spoke, detailing how two skilled masters were needed, one to assist in the aerial division and the other with the ground assault. Anakin stated that he believes Master Yoda and Windu would suit the battle the best. There were some looks of confusion around the room, Plo Koon stating that Yoda and Windu are the top two members of the council, that at least one of them should remain on Coruscant at all times, but Anakin told them Windu's ability in aerial combat, combined with Yoda's ability to lead a ground assault, is the best combination to ensure success in this battle. The council appointed him to be the Master of War, and this is his recommendation. Yoda and Windu look at each other, and Yoda speaks to the council that he will agree with Skywalker's recommendation. If correct, a short campaign it may be. But Kenobi knew something was wrong. He knew Anakin the best, and his thought process didn't make sense. If the aerial component of the battle was as important as he says it is, then no doubt he would recommend himself and likely Plo Koon second. Something is off, but the council meeting ends. Obi-Wan walks out with Anakin, asking him about the decision he made during the meeting, but Anakin just looks forward, telling Obi-Wan he believes this will give them the best chance of winning, and simply walks off. Obi-Wan stopped and knew something was definitely wrong. Anakin was acting strange. Kenobi decided to change his path and went to the Jedi's prison, where he was set to meet with Maul again. Kenobi decided to take a risk and ask Maul about Anakin again, stating that he was acting up today in the council meeting, making tactical decisions that didn't make any sense. Maul asked about what, and Kenobi told him that he recommended Yoda and Windu fight a battle together off-world. Maul paused and told Kenobi, the two strongest of the council off-world, it can only mean one thing: Sidious is making his final move. Obi-Wan visibly moved back, asking Maul if he thinks Anakin is involved. Maul told him he couldn't be sure whether Anakin is working with Sidious or whether he's been forced to against his will, and asked Kenobi if there's any way Anakin could be forced to do something he doesn't want to, and it all clicked for Obi-Wan. Sidious must have coordinated the attack on Padme and is now blackmailing Anakin with her life. Obi-Wan had to act fast, and he didn't have much time. He looked at Maul, telling him there has been bad blood between them, but he wants to make it right, and asked that he please tell him who Sidious is so that he can save his apprentice Anakin. Maul looks at Kenobi directly, after months and months of interrogation, attempting to create rapport and a positive relationship with Maul. It all came down to this. Maul stated that Sidious will not be easy to stop. The Sith had been planning this for 1,000 years, until finally, Sidious rose to the position of Supreme Chancellor as Sheev Palpatine. Obi-Wan sat back, and in that instant, he knew it was true. It had to be. The war, Dooku, everything. Kenobi left instantly, and contacted the council members that were on Coruscant. Only Saisi Tin, Plo Koon, and Shaak Ti were here. They met in front of the Chancellor's building, where he tells them what Maul told him, that Chancellor Palpatine is Darth Sidious. They rush inside, ready to arrest the Chancellor. They burst into his office to see Anakin and Palpatine together. Skywalker declaring to Sidious that he has done his bidding. He has ensured Yoda and Windu were off-world. Obi-Wan asks for Anakin to help them, that Palpatine is under arrest, but Anakin looks at Obi-Wan and then back at Palpatine, who had a smirk on his face. And Skywalker tells Obi-Wan that he cannot. He needs Palpatine alive, and he knows why. Obi-Wan knew what he meant instantly, but the other Jedi ignited their lightsabers, ready to take down the Sith. But Anakin ignited his own, and told them all they couldn't have Palpatine. Obi-Wan told the other masters to stand down, as Anakin escorted Palpatine out of the building. Palpatine was angry the Jedi had found out about his identity, but he knew with Anakin under his control, he could escape. He ordered them to escort him back to his ship, where he could set the final stages of his plan in motion. He does this, and the Jedi don't attack, Obi-Wan declaring that they stand down. On the way, Palpatine contacts Dooku, telling him to bring the Separatist forces to Coruscant, that the grand plan is underway. Dooku does this, and prepares for the invasion. Meanwhile, Anakin and Palpatine reach his ship on the landing platform. Only a few more steps, a few more paces, until Palpatine can contact every clone commander around the galaxy to execute Order 66 and ensure he becomes Emperor. And then he'll execute Padme in front of Anakin to break him and lead him down the dark path to become his apprentice. It will all be his. However, as they were steps away, Anakin heard his name called out behind him. He turned, and what he saw amazed him. It was Padme. She was safe and back on Coruscant, but what shocked him even more was that she was with Maul. Obi-Wan and the other Jedi rushed out of the building, and Kenobi looked at Maul and nodded, a recognition between friends. Instead of leaving the Jedi prison, after Maul told Obi-Wan about Sidious, Kenobi decided to trust him and let Maul free, telling him he promises he'll set himself and his brother Savage free and ensure they have a full Republic pardon if he can find Padme. Obi-Wan knows that Sidious has her, no doubt, in one of his hideouts, and Maul is the only one who could possibly find her. Maul agreed, and he knew where to look. He took a ship to the industrial region on Coruscant, where one of Sidious's main hideouts was, where he found the Senator Padme Amidala locked away. Meanwhile, Anakin was overcome with joy. Padme was okay, she was safe, and that meant he no longer had to do what Palpatine wanted. However, before he could act, Palpatine ignited his lightsaber and slashed at Anakin. He knew he'd lost him with Padme safe and wanted to take him out, but Anakin had the fastest reflexes of the Order and managed to turn his body away as his left arm was severed instead of his entire torso. He screamed out in pain, gasping at his wound, but as he looked up, he saw Palpatine engaging the 4 Jedi and Maul in a fight. He put the pain aside and ignited his own blade to get into the fight. He came behind Palpatine to block his escape. The Sith Lord had initially put the 4 attackers on the defensive. However, they had managed to survive the initial onslaught and pushed back against the Sith Lord and started attacking. Palpatine had less and less opportunities to attack, and once Anakin joined, he was on the full defensive. He attempted to slash off Obi-Wan's leg and used the gap made to escape, but Maul's double blade blocked the strike as Plo Koon's lightsaber took off Palpatine's saber hand. He cast Sith Lightning in response, but Obi-Wan caught it, and Anakin stabbed his abdomen with his blade, and Shark T sent him flying back against his ship with the Force. He crawled, unable to stand, as he reached for the comm button on his ship with the Force. He may have been defeated, but he'll be able to execute Order 66 with his dying breath and destroy the Jedi Order. He activates it and goes to utter the words, but the second before he does, Maul stabs his blade through the console, destroying the comm station. The Jedi tie Palpatine up and bring him back to the Jedi's prison into Maul's old cell. However, just as they did this, the Separatists arrived on Coruscant and the planet was thrust into battle. Republic forces were called back to the planet, whilst the council members on Coruscant boarded the individual fighters and joined the battle. Anakin and Obi-Wan led the attack. This was the largest battle the galaxy had ever seen. They made their way past Separatist droid ships towards Dooku's command ship. They landed and made their way through the corridors up towards the bridge. They broke through and engaged Dooku and Grievous in combat. The battle was ferocious, and Anakin taunted them both that their leader Palpatine had been captured. This only enraged Dooku, but it sent him off balance, as Anakin was able to capitalize and take the Sith Lord out. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan trolled Grievous, cutting off one arm, then another, and another, until reaching out with the Force to crush his heart and end his life. They destroyed the control station and tactical droids, and thus won the Battle of Coruscant. With the rest of the council that had arrived and met with Bail Organa and the Republic Security Council, they discussed what had happened, discovering Palpatine was Darth Sidious, and presented all evidence to them that Sidious was behind both sides of the war, in cahoots with Dooku to create the galactic conflict. The Republic Security Council accepted this and declared to the entire Senate that Palpatine has been arrested on charges of treason, and the war with the Separatists is over following their surrender, pending a new Supreme Chancellor election in 5 days' time. The entire council facilitates the transfer of power over to the new Supreme Chancellor, Bail Organa, and the future of the Republic is looking prosperous. Meanwhile, the Jedi Council met to discuss the events that had transpired. Obi-Wan explained that Maul was the one who told him about Sidious, but Plo Koon mentioned that when they confronted him, Anakin actually defended him and drew his lightsaber to fight against the Jedi. Windu demanded Anakin explain himself, and he had no choice. He told them about his attachment to Senator Padme, how Palpatine specifically captured her and used her to blackmail him into doing what he wanted. The council was shocked by this revelation, and many were disappointed, but Obi-Wan looked at Anakin and gave him a nod, showing that he would support him no matter what. Windu calls for Anakin to be kicked out of the Order. Saisi Tin says he should remain a Jedi, but not on the council, while Obi-Wan states they must have more discussion before making any rash decisions. Yoda looks at Anakin and asks him if he sees where he's gone wrong, if he sees how his attachment clouded his judgment. Anakin says he does, but he loves Padme, and thinks that if he was in the same situation again, it wouldn't change what he would do. His love for her was too strong. Yoda thought about this and told Anakin that because of his actions, he cannot remain on the Jedi Council, but also because he was the Master of War, and there no longer is one. However, he will stay a Jedi Master, and additional training he will need to accept and forgo his attachment. But Anakin stands and says that Padme and his family is the most important thing to him in his life. He loves the Jedi. but he's completed his role as the Chosen One. The Sith are gone, and thus, he must move on to the next phase in his life. The Jedi Order will never accept his relationship to Padme, and therefore, he will never truly be at home in the Order. He tells everyone, this is not goodbye, they will see him again, and if they ever need help, to feel free to reach out. There were mixed noises and opinions as Anakin walked out of the council chamber, but he looked back at Obi-Wan, who smiled, proud that his apprentice stood up for himself. After the war ended, Padme became pregnant shortly after and decided her time as senator for Naboo was up. She and Anakin moved to Naboo and decided they would start their new lives together, free of Jedi philosophy and Republic politics. Ahsoka stayed with them for months initially, but eventually moved on. However, in the following years, as the Skywalker family grew, she would stay for months at a time, as she really felt part of the family. Obi-Wan would also come to visit, often without telling the Jedi Council. He and Anakin were still close friends and considered each other brothers. When Obi-Wan came to visit, he couldn't help but wonder if this is the life he should lead, wondering if he should reach out to Satine, who in this timeline survived because they captured Maul and Savage early in their tirade. But Kenobi decides to go against it, as he's being groomed for the next position of Grand Master of the Jedi Order. Someone else who had a redemption arc was Maul. After Maul revealed the truth to the Jedi and helped them defeat Palpatine, he and Savage were no longer prisoners, and all charges against them were dropped. Yoda personally offered for them to join the Jedi Order, to train in the light side of the Force. However, they denied this, stating their days of Sith and Jedi were over, and moved back to Dathomir, where they set up a sanctuary amongst the ruins of a Night Sister fortress. Mother Talzin had been murdered, however, Dathomir still lived, but it was fractured. Without her leadership, the Night Sister clans had split. They returned, motivated to unite Dathomir once more into a prosperous and bright future.
Thanks for watching everyone. Once again, don't miss our Black Friday sale over at Fantasy Sabers, where with every saber order, we're giving away a free Chosen One Deluxe. The best NeoPixel sabers on the market, so don't miss out.